latest news, game updates, insights, highlights, and everything Liberty Hockey. This is Rock the Rink, where Liberty Hockey lives.
Welcome back to the Rock the Rink podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. Guys, we talked about it last weekend. This series of hockey for all teams across the board, I mean, there was a lot riding on it. There was a lot of implications going into this weekend. We saw some teams step up to the table. I mean, I think we just start off right away with our men's Division I team. They needed to sweep an opponent. After that Calvin weekend, just tough sledding for that team, down some bodies, but you get your guys back from Team USA. You have some other guys rise up to the occasion. I mean, let's start out Tucker Shields. You know, what a weekend for your boy,
Love me some Tucker Shields.
And I guess, Red, I wanted to ask you right off the bat. I mean, yeah, he's been your guy the whole year. You've been talking about, I can't wait for him to break out, and we're seeing it. So what's really gotten better for number 11?
Yeah, I think, honestly, with Tucker, he doesn't even need to score to be like a really important part of this team. Just that defensive zone face-off, big body, just his defensive acumen. I think he has the ability to shut down the other team's best lines. Like he does a lot. Like when Liberty needed, was it game one where they were just getting eaten up in the face-off dot versus Niagara?
I mean, both games. It was tough.
Well, second game they were a lot better though. I will say this. But first game, you notice like Kirk, when it was time for like a defensive zone draw that was key, it was Tucker. He was out there. So that in itself, he's worth it. And I just like the two-way style he plays. But yeah, nose for the net has come out here lately. And against the Calvin weekend, gets a couple goals just driving hard to the net. And he's got that big body, and he's a good skater as well. So when he comes in on D, they're going to either have to hook and hold on to him because he's got some speed and momentum that he can just drive by them, or that cut he had and then he just lets it rip 5-hole. That was a great goal. You know, as he continues to grow in this program, he's going to be terrific. But yeah, I really love the style of hockey that he brings, and I think he could. Well, I was gonna say I think he could even be a little bit more physical, but I love what he brings. Period. He's a great hockey player, and it's been terrific.
Yeah, and I think it all goes back to his line, right? Obviously him, DeMars, and Liam Cocksmith didn't play together to start this season, and then they've really come on late, and it kind of gives you a glimpse of oh, is this our line of the future now? Just the way the three of them have played. I mean, right now this is going to be one of Liberty's lines that if things keep going the way they are, each guy's going to have 10 plus goals on the season.
Yeah, that's
right. Because Cocksmith has 10 now, and then I think the other two, DeMars and Shields, have 9. Yeah. So I think that's huge. Just the play that those three on an all freshman line kind of stepping up in big role, that's huge for you, and it's paid dividends from this past season. Right, they were contributed, if I'm not mistaken, 5 of Liberty's 7 goals this weekend.
Right. Who had Hayden DeMars turning into Mr. Goal Scorer on their bingo card?
Oh, yeah.
From first semester to this semester, you saw the skill set, and you look at him, you're like, oh, good middle six winger. It's going to put some goals in the back of the net for you. Real serviceable guy. All of a sudden, homeboy has just oh, my goodness. He tried to go, and this was okay, I'm old school. I've got so much gray in my beard. You might as well call me white. I get that. I'm a little crunchy. But he came in and he tried to go between the legs to split 2D, and I was great with it. I was that was a really good spot to try this. You had a lot of guys back. It wasn't like you were doing this and all of a sudden it was going to be odd man rush the other way. And I was that was really creative, and he almost pulled it off. I was kind of okay, he's feeling it. Right now he is feeling it. That shot he scored on right off the bat, top shelf, short side, that's a goal scorer's goal. There was lots of traffic in front, and he just let it rip. Hayden DeMars is playing some really great hockey right now, and goaltenders, it looks like you're playing Chell back in the day where you could turn them into little people. You know what I mean? It's just he's letting it rip.
Mm-hmm. And I think after that Drexel series too, I mean, he had a ton of goals in that Drexel series. But part of you was okay, how much is this really going to carry over into the next semester? I mean, obviously we were scoring goals left and right against Drexel, and last weekend too, I mean, he was in the box a ton, and it kind of seemed like a little bit of a discouraging weekend for him. And so, you're curious how he's going to respond. I mean, not a single penalty on the weekend for him, and he plays the way he does. You can see him just keep on getting better and better. And I want to go back to, you're talking about Tucker Shields with his face-offs. I mean, you look at his numbers, and he's over 60% just about in every zone.
Hold on. Where are you getting these analytics from?
Hey, Rhett, I have my ways.
Where has this been my whole life?
I don't share the secrets, Rhett.
That's Bush League.
Sell.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow, that is impressive.
I'm like, thanks for sharing, Annie. Thought we were friends.
Rhett's like, copy and paste.
I know.
I'm going to figure out where.
Okay, got it. Yeah.
We can get the
Do you
diagram
pay for that?
up there. No.
Okay.
Oh, she's got a connection in the
she's
inside that gets sent and just sends it to
I'm
her.
like, literally, that's amazing. That's great.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. Total sidetrack.
Just wanted to back up your observations.
No, yeah, thank you.
there,
Thank you. I appreciate that. At least I'm right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's doing well at the face-off dot. And then
Yeah, how much did you say? Looked down and I saw
just about over 60% in the zone.
So is this D zone here?
Yeah.
Yeah, Look at this. 58% in the D zone, 65 at center or in the neutral zone, and then 60% in the offensive zone. Tucker Shields taking the draws. Put him on PP1.
Oh, yeah.
Let him just win that draw back and let the boys set up.
Well, and the power play too, also kind of a topic from this past weekend. You go 1 for 8, still not seeing the kind of production that you want. You were hoping that after you got all your guys back, you have talent like Finch, DeBrito out there, hoping to see a little bit more action on the power play side of things. I don't know, what were your observations when they had the man advantage?
I thought at times they had really good puck movement, and you could tell the horses were back. It's hard. Part of me too is it's really difficult to criticize them at this point because you just had guys come back from overseas. You haven't really had a ton of time to practice. Let's give it a week, see what it looks like this next coming weekend against Adrian before we kind of make any hot takes on they need to change things. In all truthfulness, that's my personal opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I guess shifting gears to the other side of things, Niagara, what were your overall thoughts from seeing them again? I mean, I know Liberty's had some issues, being able to get the weekend sweep over them in the past, and they're a team that's, just been climbing as the seasons have gone by. So what was your take this time around?
I think it was a good win for Liberty to be able to beat Niagara because, truthfully, honestly, I know they're sitting at 11th. They're a top 10 team. I think when you really look at the grand scheme of things and some of the things they've had to battle through to start the semester, I think that's been tough on them, the lack of practicing for a little bit because the coaches had some life events happening. I think, for Liberty, that's huge too. And, this was it's crazy to think you're still without bodies, but this is one of the healthier lineups you've had, most of the year. So, I think that's huge for Liberty. And I think for the Flames, you have to be optimistic in the fact that, okay, when we're healthy – and we're able to get dialed and guys aren't coming, back on the red eye. We are there's a chance we got to run at this. And this weekend's a good litmus test for them. Now, I know you're still without some key bodies, including your captain, but at the same time, if I'm Liberty and Liberty fans, things are trending upward in the right direction.
They are. Yeah, they totally are. Man, there's so many thoughts. All right, let me go to Niagara first, okay? And sometimes I don't make friends, and that's okay. When I look at that team, I think they really miss guys like Clemens, and there was another one that they had.
They had Devin Sanders last season, the two-way forward for them.
Thanks. Those guys, I knew the number. As soon as she said it, I was like, yeah, I know who you're talking about. Those guys had a real great motor, just really hard work ethic. You know what I mean? They may not have scored all the goals, but you need those guys that are just kind of grinding throughout. I feel like they're missing that a little bit. Now, I don't know who's injured and whatnot, but there is an element, I think, missing to that team that they've had previously, and I think it's just the willingness to kind of grind it out in the corners, perhaps. Belanger is a great talent. He's a one-shot difference maker, but I think he needs to get more involved physically, and I think he needs to – he's got a large frame. What is he, 6'2", 6'3"-ish, when you look at him? He's a little lanky, but still – if you're just wire and wristers trying to go short side high all the time, when you have a goalie like Conrad and the upper echelon goalies in the league that Liberty's going to see next weekend or this weekend into Cottonies, you're not going to score on them from that for that much time. And then that one goal that Belanger had, I'm trying to remember how it went in.
It was a wraparound goal.
That's right. Okay, so that was but that's when he gets engaged down low. And he's actually being physical. Strips the puck, quick move to the net, tucks it in. That was a nice goal. I'm down with that one. But I think that they need more of their big dogs willing to pay the price as opposed to what they were doing. Soika, again, he's like really good player. He's 6'4". He's got some meat on those bones. Like, drive the net. Use that big frame and make it difficult on defenders to not pull you down and take a penalty as opposed to playing a perimeter game. That would be my big thing with Niagara. I do agree with Pat. They are a top 10 team. I really like their captain, Loft. I think he's great. And, Schneidmiller was a good little player. McCormick, he was obviously doing something right because he had the attention of Liberty players. Like, he's a little bit of a pest on the back end. Like, they have 3 really nice defensemen, and they have some good lines, and they have speed and whatnot, but they have to, I think, make life harder on the opposition in the offensive zone, and I didn't see that as much this weekend as I've seen previously. And the guys like Pat said, Sanders and Clemens, those guys would get after it using their speed, and I don't feel like they had that same tenacity this past weekend.
Yeah. And so I guess when you compare it to the Niagara of seasons past, do you feel like they still have a ways to go before they kind of, before they reach the level that they were before, where they're knocking off teams in the national tournament?
I think the talent's there. I really do. I just think it's a mindset thing. And I think Coach Moradian, I bet you if you had a real heart-to-heart with him, he would agree. You just have to be more physically engaged, play more of a North American style, and get into it as opposed to just being content with taking snappers from the top of the circle. When you get into the national tournament in St. Louis come March, goals are at a premium, just like in playoff hockey in the NHL. Goals are at a premium, and you're not going to be scoring goals from the top of the circle that often. Players go into playoff mode, and they're going to be blocking shots. There's going to be shooting lanes. They're going to be tough to find. So you, again, have to be willing to really pay a price to get to high-priced real estate to score goals. And I didn't see that from them this weekend. Yeah. I'm trying to go back and play the goals in my mind. Okay, so game 1, the one goal they had was a breakdown, in all truthfulness. And it wasn't even that egregious of a breakdown by the Flames, but the puck kind of somehow finds its way down low. Morton's there. It's a 2-on-1. Boom, back of the net. Okay, that happens. But outside of that, Pat, can you really remember that great of a scoring chance that they had in that game?
No, I would say that was the best one, right?
Yeah.
Because we talked about the wraparound try that they had.
And that was in game 2.
Yeah. They had the one that on the power play that we kind of brought some controversy because the post was off, and it was similar to the night one goal too. And then I can't remember the 4th goal they scored for some reason. I know it happened in the first period. I just can't remember exactly how it happened. But yeah, nothing like we've seen of old, where they're able to just rip it because they've got good screens in front of the net, and then they're able to just tuck it home, stuff like that. But so but at the same time, the type of goals they scored, those are going to be the type of goals they're going to need to score at nationals too, especially potentially after that first round. Because sometimes there's a gap, I feel like, from the top 10 to some of those other teams when you play them in the opening round. If you bring your A game, and you usually can light it up if you're doing things right. So, but I think for Niagara, the biggest thing too, and my takeaway from them, their goaltending, much better this year. Mm-hmm. So I don't remember, and that's not to talk about the guy from last season, but I can't remember his name, which is bad. But I thought McElwain played phenomenal in night 1, and you even talked about it that. It could have been 3-0 after the first.
Easy. Yeah. If you look at the box scores and you go back and you see, Liberty won 2-1 in night 1. They squeaked it out. I thought Liberty, that first period was the best period of hockey I've seen them play. Maybe this year. They were on it, rolling, low to high. Loved the way they played. And then Pat nailed on the head. McEwen, their tendy, played out of his mind. And, I don't know if they want to make a decision. And, and that's true. We only see him for one game here. I don't know if that's his level of play or if that was just a night where he was hot and he played extremely well. But if you have to make a choice, he would be the guy in my mind. He had some terrific saves. It was just playing out of his mind. So, but still, again, a good team, really good team. They have a lot of pieces. If they get hot and have hot goaltending, they could make a run in the tournament. There's no reason why they can't. But as of right now, I think the numbers that you see on the sheet, I think Liberty deserve that and maybe even more. In all truthfulness.
Yeah. So now we move on to Adrian, who obviously the defending champs from last year. First, Pat, I mean, I guess I just haven't looked at it yet. Adrian number 6, but they're 21-2. Has the strength of schedule just not really been there for them this year to keep them up there in that top?
Yeah, I mean
top
that's
five?
that's a good question. Like I'll be honest, I have no idea like why they currently are sitting where they at. Because I mean, Minot State currently right now is 28-4-2. I mean, they do Minot does play in what looks like to be a better conference. Because outside with Niagara breaking into whatever that's called the GL6 now, that could affect what they have in for their conference schedule.
Yeah.
I think with Adrian in the GL6,
because I think we're Adrian's highest ranked opponent that they've played this year. So actually, take that back. At one point, they played Ohio too. Okay. So that helps them as well. But yeah, I mean, I think that helps. That's probably part of it, the strength of schedule thing. I mean, we've talked about it multiple times. Like, we feel like there's a couple metrics they should put back in the formula as well. Yeah. But, I mean, this is a team that's hot. Like, just like last year, they're on a big winning streak.
Yeah.
Last year, I think it was like 18 games they had won in a row, and then now they're at 13. So, like, it's hard to say why because I don't even, outside of the coaches poll, they haven't been number 1 yet this year in the computer.
Interesting.
So, but probably strength of schedule has something to do with it. But at the same time, I think they're fine with that. They know exactly who they are, and like this is a team that's been in Coach Stahl's 8 years previous. They've been to the Final Four 7 of those times. Yeah. Like they're not too worried where they're at in the rankings.
I'm gonna say something really arrogant as a Liberty fan. You ready for this?
Yeah.
If I'm Kirk and them, I'm not worried at all about Adrian. I'm totally like focusing in-house, and I'll say it for this. Like sometimes I get hard on Liberty hockey and I get hard on this team, and I'm a little bit nitpicky. But I think this is the team, maybe the most since the Bohinski Cole Gamer year, and even maybe more so than that with Artie Lakaitis when they knocked up Adrian
when they
late.
beat him sweet here.
I think this team has
have the chance
personnel
to win the season series for the first time ever versus Adrian.
But I'm talking about the.
I think they can do the cup too. But like you've got to do those things first.
That's true.
I'm not looking at the playoffs yet. All right, we've got a lot of hockey before that stuff.
But I think it's okay to crack the door open to have the realization that it's not a give me, but it's very, very possible.
Yes.
If we go about things the right way. And like when you look at this Liberty team, top to bottom right now, like man, like you were there. I don't know if there's a more talented team in the nation. In all honesty, I really like that line. I loved Ratzlaff at center. I thought the speed he brought to the center ice position, and I'll be honest, I didn't pay as much attention to him as I should have in the defensive zone. But like overall, I really liked his game, and I know that maybe like the scoring has dried up a little bit for him, but he's going to score a big goal at a big moment. He's just that kind of player. It's going to happen in the playoffs. And then like the wings with DeBrito and Finch, I just want to see DeBrito and Finch shoot more. That's my honest thing. But I like the speed that line had. If you haven't, I'm just like salivating thinking about it. But like I would keep Versalono, Kalendijk, and Olsen together. They 100%. They're just like keep it together. And then that line, you go from that line that's a bit more methodical to then the speed line of Ratzlaff and DeBrito and whatnot. And then you go to the size of Tucker Shields, Hayden Mars, and, the biggest guy in that line, Cocksmith. But no, he plays big. He really does.
He does.
He plays bigger than he
plays fearless.
Yeah, he does. He really does. Like, I know probably that cross-check at the end of Game 2 wasn't the best thing to take at the time, but, like, you're not playing against Cocksmith and saying it was an easy night.
Right.
Like he's gonna tune you up if you're messing with him. And then you go to line 4, that obviously has been really, really solid too. Like Smith, the speed that he has on that line, and then you got Barker, which has size. Like that just all together, you look at the depth, and then you're gonna get Sam Feemster back at some point. Where do you plug him in? That's a topic for a different day, but like still. I really think
that one.
You put him on that line?
Yeah.
I'm kind of with you in all truthfulness. Like I'm thinking about it. I'm like, yeah, if you have 4 lines, like which line is your 4th? Again, you don't really have a 4th line.
Yeah, no, you don't.
Yeah. So, anyways, I would just be really preaching to the guys this week, like, let's treat ourselves almost like we are the standard and play that way. Make Adrian like rise to us. Come in and just know that we can get it done. Take care of the puck. Don't turn it over. And when Liberty does that, like again, the only goal that Niagara scored, they're top 10 team in the nation, was when we had a miscue and it was in the back of our net like that. Like, yeah, this team is right there. I'm excited. First time in a while I'm as excited as I am for St. Louis to get here.
Yeah, and I feel like it's been such a weird year in the sense that it's third series in the semester too, and now we're finally seeing the roster kind of come into place and see where the roles that each of these guys need to play in. And I feel like it's coming just in time for the national tournament. I mean, the last time that you faced Adrian early on in the fall, it was a very fresh group. You know, it was completely different than what they're going to see now. So it's exciting, you know, just to kind of see it all come together and see these guys, you know, and it's proving in the production you've seen. I mean, you know, all year you've been wanting to see Tucker Shields break out the way he has been recently, and see these guys play together in the way that they have in the past couple weekends when you even didn't have your guys who were in Italy. So I think this weekend's gonna be fun to see. You know, those guys they're gonna be well rested. I mean, you come back from Italy. When did they even get back, Pat?
I heard they got back like Friday morning.
It's crazy.
It's insane, yeah.
Or,
You played at midnight,
they
yeah.
or maybe it was late Thursday night, but they practiced Friday morning like at 11.
Yeah, I mean, it's wild. So you can't blame any of them for being a little bit sleepy during those games. I mean, I don't even know what the time difference is. Like, I don't know how the jet lag would affect you with that. But, you know, hopefully they're taking their naps this week and they're feeling much better.
Sure.
I think this weekend, it's going to be exciting to see. Because, like you said, Rhett, I mean, it's kind of interesting to see the mentality switch, because in years past it's always been, and Adrian comes to town, how are we going to rise up to be that kind of a team? But now it's the first year where it kind of feels like you said, you know, we are the team with the talent who can pull it off, and now it's, you know, we're basically, you know, we're forcing the other team to make mistakes, and you've seen how they react to you.
It's that fine line of like confidence, caution, and arrogance. Like, I don't know, you know, how do you make those all intersect? That's why Kirk's the coach, right? That's his job. But like this team, if you can find that recipe again, I don't think there's any reason why you cannot go on a deep playoff run. And I really do. Like, we've seen a majority of the top 10 teams come in here. The only team that I think that maybe personnel-wise that can match Liberty in terms of talent is Ohio.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm honest. And it's been a while since we've seen them, so I need to go back. You know, they had a bit of a struggle of a start to the second semester here because they went from 1 to 4. But, yeah, that's what it is. Now, the one thing I will say in favor of Adrian, it's going to be a different look this year because the Cotneys is back, and he is a really good goaltender. Yeah. And just like I was talking about Couch, like you're not going to score on snappers from the top of the circle, I really think the Cotneys is that level of goaltender too. So this weekend there has to be a focus on taking away his eyes, getting traffic in front, and scoring a couple ugly goals. Like, you know, get a couple like Finch had on the power play side of the net. You're banging away, it goes off a skating in. Like, that's the kind of good fortune you need to create for yourself in a weekend like this.
Yeah, I think the other thing too, you had this issue up at Adrian. You gotta find a way to tune it here. You gotta stay out of the box.
Yeah.
This is one of the better power plays which you've got to discover. Yeah. And honestly, that's the reason why Game 1 happened up at Adrian. They take Game 1 because they win 1-0.
Yeah. Because
they had so many power plays in a row. And I mean, Liberty played very well in Game 1, obviously, because they only allowed 1 goal. But then even Game 2, you gave up a couple power plays too. So those are like you said, the fine tuning of some things, and then also having some good discipline. Because I mean, top to bottom, this Liberty team that's well rested. Like I said a minute ago, I think this is the first year you could probably win the season series versus Adrian.
Right. Oh man, I'm sitting here trying to think. I forgot somebody on the fourth line. I couldn't think of it. It's Essenmacher. How can I forget Essenmacher? Anyway, sorry. I know that just is like random, but yeah, the fourth line is really stinking good.
Stacked.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, this line top, I'm still thinking about it. Top to bottom, forwards 1 through 12, and even 13, 14. You're rolling on this Liberty team.
Yeah, no, it really doesn't feel like a fourth line.
No, it doesn't.
With the talent you got.
100%. And I don't think Kirk treats it that way either, and I don't think he views it that way. When you watch the way that he distributes ice time, like he's comfortable throwing out that fourth line out there at any given moment and just like letting them work. And when you have guys like Essenmacher and Smith on that bottom unit with the speed that they have, Barker's not as fleet as foot as those two, like they can cause issues for the other team.
Yeah, and I'm just looking at Ohio's how they've been doing so far this semester. I mean, only one. I think it was just that opening loss to Pitt that kind of killed them. But
I talked to Coach Moradian before Friday night, and because Pitt nipped them too.
Yeah.
And he just said they figured things out from first semester, so Liberty has to be careful for that when the time comes, and that that they got tendied. So they have a goalie that they just feel like plays out of his mind when he faces them. So Liberty, you have to be aware, but I don't think it's anything that they can't handle, obviously, as well.
Yeah, and Ohio's also back in Bird Arena now. I mean, they're
right.
only playing home games. The only away game that they have before the national tournament is at Liberty, February 21st through 22nd.
They played all on the road.
Yep. So,
Right.
They want to get that
Grades go up.
Grades go up.
Poor guys.
Practice time. I mean, I wonder
That's true.
the
That's a
practice
good
time's
point.
going to go up. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how they develop semester one to semester two. You're only practicing once a week with a new head coach.
That's a really good point.
You know, so we could see an Ohio team that's even more fine-tuned than they already were in the first semester, which honestly is a pretty scary thought.
Yeah,
That's why I said I don't want to look at the national championship yet. There's a lot of things that have to play so far.
Lots to come into play. But if there is a team that's going to have to be thinking about St. Louis, it's the Women's Division I team. They're about to make their way on over to, not the Music City. What are they called? The
Bean? That's all I know. They got
What is it?
They got that beat in the arch. No, they don't have
the
the
arch.
Oh,
Yeah,
they
but
do.
it's the gateway to the west.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, the
But
gateway.
it should be the Music City.
Former teacher
Yeah.
knows, I know.
No,
That's
I just only reason
Nashville,
Yeah, I was like,
I
I
wasn't
think
there.
Nationals.
Yeah, Nashville's
Yeah,
Music
Nashville is a
City.
bit. St. Louis, I feel like should be that. You know, the Blues, and
The
get the
Blues,
logo and all that
St.
whatnot.
Louis.
But
Yeah. Anyway, so our women's D1 team is going to be back in action. We've been waiting for it. I mean, they're going to take on the number 3 and number 5 teams in the nation, Maryville and McKendree. They won their first 3 meetings against Maryville, but, you know, some of them were pretty tight in the fall. And then this will be the first time that they face McKendree this season, which is a team that can't be overlooked, Pat. You can't be overlooking these teams this next
No,
weekend.
I think Maryville has spent time as number 1 and number 2 this season. So, like, I mean, I think that's huge. Liberty knows how tight that game is, and they have one of the better dynamic scorers in the country, too, at women's D1. So, like, Maryville's always dangerous, and I know they're hoping for the chance to, like, just get one from Liberty this season, right? Like, has helped them build momentum. And then McKendree, if I'm a Flame, I'm excited to play them. One, because I think the highest they've been is number 2, but at the same time, that's the team that ended the streak
Yes.
2 years ago,
Yes.
right?
Uh-huh.
So, like, you want to be able to beat them and beat them well on their own ice too,
Oh, yeah.
right? Especially if this is the only chance you got at them. You might see them end playoffs, whether it's conference or nationals. But yeah, this is these are 2 games I think the Lady Flames are extremely excited about, because then you're off for a bit before you play the current number 2 team in the country, Adrian, and then you head into the postseason.
Yeah, and lots of buzz around this team this season too.
Yeah.
This year, it seems like there's a whole new energy, especially, I mean, second semester. You know, this is always the push to nationals. Always lots to look forward to with this team entering the tournament. And I think it's funny just to look back a few weeks ago when Michael Morrison was on the call for the men's D1 game. Couldn't stop talking about Zasha Adamek. I think at least 5 minutes of airtime was dedicated to Zasha. So what she's doing on this team, it's pretty special.
Yeah, it is. Those two, Zasha and Sophia, their skating ability, like I said this on the broadcast, I'd love to know who their power skating coach is, because they can just turn on a dime. Like north to south speed, they're good. They're not the fastest person I've seen, but just their ability to break ankles, like just edge work is absolutely unreal. Real special talents and heady players as well. But haven't watched this team against HTI. I know it's HTI, but that's a good group. Like I think you can kind of compare them a little bit. And the fact that you did not have Fussy and also
Battles.
Thank you. Haley popped in my head. I was like, what's the last name? Battles. Like you were filling the net pretty well. This team looks primed for another run.
Yeah, and I think Coach Lowe's even said that too, talking to him just, when you run into the coaches, you just talk shop, right? And he just felt good about how the team is just come together, be a team, right? Like, and I think the one thing that they were lacking last year, they've definitely filled that gap, and now all the girls have, like, come up to speed. They didn't have enough depth, right, to fully push it through, and, like, they have more than enough depth this season, and, like, everyone's acclimated now into the season, and I think, like, the next 4 games that they have leading into, you could say, postseason play, like, is going to be a telling tale of where this team's going to be, because, like, you're playing top 5 opponents, right? So, like, I think that's huge, and I think potentially there are a lot of good things to come for this Liberty unit.
Yeah, there's no slowing down for this team. I mean, after Maryville and McKendree, you have Adrian for a series and then right into conference tournament and nationals. So, they're always locked in. I feel like at this time of year, you feel a different kind of buzz around the women's D1 Flames. They're on the hunt for another national title, trying to make it happen this year. But one team whose path to the national tournament got a little bit more tricky this past weekend is the men's Division II Flames. I mean, we talked about it last week, Pat. This road trip was going to be huge for them from, standings wise. They were fortunate to see they bumped up to number 2 just before this past weekend started, which I think is going to come into play big time. But you beat Miami, Ohio, and then you lose 2 games to Lindenwood and FGCU. Obviously, both of those teams are ranked higher than you are, but I think, it's going to be interesting to see with those 2 and 3 spots how the rankings shake out.
Yeah, it really will. Obviously, not sure how the rest of the Southeast did that weekend. Now, you did get a key Southeast victory over a team that was below you and host Miami, Ohio, so that's huge, and you win by at least 2 goals. But, I mean, yeah, I think thinking big picture for them, because there's only 2 more weekends, there's only a little bit more of hockey left for them, and they have a big test this weekend too, but, the goal is to be able to try to win a national title, especially with your core group, which after the season, part of them are going to be gone. So, it's tough, right? And so you didn't have, unfortunately, a good showing versus Lindenwood. Now they've won, I can't even remember how many they've won straight versus you, but they've definitely won all 5 games this season. Yeah. And you had the edge versus FGCU, and that's your worst loss of the weekend, too. So, it's tough. But, I mean, one of the things I definitely think got my sound on there. One of the things you probably want to try to work on and just go into this weekend versus another top 5 team and try to clean up some habits. I think that's too. Definitely, I think they did not do a good job possessing the puck. You can look at that from the shot selection. And then, maybe get more shots on net, right? I know they look to set up and try to get their conventional plays, but sometimes the way that this team has thrived, and you look at some of their big wins, they've gotten a shot on net, and then someone's crashing the net hard. And I think that's a recipe, especially against these top teams. That's going to be a recipe for success for them.
Yeah, I mean, exactly what you were saying. Going back to this past weekend, the majority of their goals were just battling in front of the net, trying to get the puck in. And, I think their first game, it looked pretty good, but I mean, no penalties in the entire game. So when you're playing 5-on-5, they were able to generate some consistency. I mean, you compare it to their past couple series where it's been 10, 11 penalties a game. So getting to just spend an entire game 5-on-5 was huge, and it showed in the result. But then you go against Lindenwood. I mean, there's a reason why that team only has 1 loss on the year. I mean, they are crisp, they're efficient, and they're big. They do everything the right way. And, you can take into account there were some penalties called in that game that probably shouldn't have been called, honestly, both ways. And Lindenwood benefited off of it. I think they had 3 goals at the end of the day that were off special teams. And, I mean, one of them was just as the power play was ending. So, you look at that and you think Lindenwood, I mean, they did that just a few weeks ago. They kill you when you're in the box and their power play struts on out there. They're a really good group. And then game 3 against FGCU, you just couldn't get going. I mean, first 20 seconds of the game, they score a goal. Same thing in the second period. First shift off the face-off, they score a goal. And it was like you were saying, you couldn't really get through the neutral zone. Once you did, I mean, you're moving the puck, but you just could never really get a shot off before it ended up, with the other team and they were going the other way. So I think these next couple weekends, just focusing on generating some consistency in the O zone, getting more shots on net, just fighting for it in the crease and seeing what happens is going to be big for them. But,
sorry, really quick. When you said they scored in 20 seconds and then that's one of the teams you can't do that to with FGC. Yeah. Giving them a good lead, it's hard to come back from because they're just so methodical and so systematically sound that you can't just surrender quick goals and quick strikes for them. But I will say, going back to going to the front of the net. And yeah, Annie was our hockey insider this weekend because she was in Miami right there. So but now I'm thinking back and I was like, yeah, what's a game that comes to memory? Last game of pool play last year versus Lindenwood. You get all 3 of your goals, initial shot, someone crashes the net hard, and they go in. And now I know that game didn't end it the way you wanted to, but you took Lindenwood to the brink in that game, and it was anyone's game. They had a couple bounces go their way, but that just shows like, hey, this is our recipe versus those top teams, right? Like, we have the personnel to do it. I know we have a lot of skill and talent to take those point blank shots, get the backdoor feed and all that stuff. But like, sometimes you got to just go back to the well that's a little more simpler.
I completely agree, because watching those Lindenwood games here, Liberty, after that first period, which was bad, got into a bit more of a low game, like low in the zone. And while Lindenwood may be long, I don't think they're overly physical. And if you got guys like Marty and stuff, and you're just banging bodies down there and just sitting on the crease, the doorstep, I think that's, like you're saying, Pat, the recipe for success. Like, in some ways you have to throw the finesse out the window against that team. I think they can out-finesse you if you're Liberty, and you just have to go blue-collar, hard work, grind them down, and make life miserable for them, and get your goals in a dirty, kind of greasy fashion.
Yeah. Yeah, because they're good at that. I mean, at least 2, if not 3 goals this weekend. I think I just remember for at least 5 seconds, the puck's loose in front of the net. You're just battling until you're the one who puts it in. So that's the recipe for success for this team. That's what works. And you want to see them be able to do that in the national tournament. I mean, after this year, you have 10, 11 seniors that are going to be leaving.
Oof.
This is a big group.
Yeah.
A big group, a big leadership core that's going to be moving on, that's been fighting for it. I mean, we had Lane Scon on here the other week saying, I've been to nationals 3-4 times, never made it out of pool play. This team's hungry for that. And he played a really good weekend, by the way. Really good performance from him. But it's going to be interesting to see the next couple weekends. You want to get out of there with 4 wins. Hold your spot, number 2 spot in the Southeast, and, get to nationals. It's been a tough path there this year. Obviously, lots of injuries. It hasn't been easy. But, you want to build any kind of momentum that you can heading into the national tournament. And see what happens. Hopefully make it out of pool play. So we move on now to our men's Division III Flames. They had a good weekend, sweeping Rowan, and we talked about it.
There you go.
We talked about it last weekend, on our last pod. This was going to be a really tough series to come out on top in, and they rose to the occasion, Pat.
Yeah, they really did. Obviously, I'm sure Coach Wagner does not like how Game 1 played out because, if I'm not mistaken, they had a 3-0 lead, then a 5-3 lead. You kind of basically let Rowan come back into this game, and you found a way to score. I believe they scored on the power play in overtime because of a late penalty calls by the profs. And then night 2, you go down 2-1 in the first, and then you just roll after that. So, that is a big win for them, especially to move 9-1 when you're playing AAU D3 opponents.
Right.
That should bring a lot of confidence to this group moving forward and kind of projecting of what they want to do. And we said it last week, I think this is a team that could win the ACCHO, but also be the first team to make it out of pool play at AAU Nationals. And right now they're showcasing that. And I think, this was a big weekend for them moving forward.
I mean, I guess looking back to past teams, what makes you so confident that this particular group is the one that can make it out of pool play?
I just think their depth, right? Obviously, I think the depth and even the style of play, I think they have those guys that are high in skill and things of that nature, but I think they kind of mirror a little bit of the playing style of their coach, right? Coach Wagner was a physical player, and he was able to make those high-end, highlight reel type of goals, but his bread and butter was just getting down and dirty, just trying to bang.
Power forward.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think they just know they have a nose for going to the front of the net, and then also too they one thing I saw a lot this weekend, they're good at fighting in the corners or on the wall and then getting a pass out front, because usually the defense's eyes are all on where the puck, and they have a trailer that goes to the front of the net, and then they just are a quick shot, right? So that's been huge too for them. So I think those are the things that just helps this team, and like I said, the depth of this group is pretty impressive as well.
And then you got Williams, you know what I mean? If he's putting in 3 for you. No, but he's a good leader. You look at him and he's just a voice of reason, older guy. You love to have that. Lemons has come on and done extremely well this year. So like Pat said, a lot of depth on this team, and I do agree with Pat. I think they've taken on kind of the style of their coach, and they play a good physical brand of hockey, which can go a long way. Now it's just that elusive getting out of pool play. We'll see if that's a possibility for them.
Yeah, and also when you have two goaltenders playing as well as they are, that helps out a lot on that end of things. But the men's D3 Flames are going to host Coastal Carolina on February 8th through the 9th. That'll be a good series. It always is.
That's right.
From South Carolina. So we're looking forward to that one.
I remember back in the day when Coastal was like we couldn't get past them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially in playoffs, right? Like, I don't know
if I
I
ever faced them in playoffs, but I knew that the first year I came back coaching D3, that's a while ago now.
Yeah.
11 years ago, 10 years
When you
ago.
came back the second time?
Yeah. Isn't that crazy? That's that long ago, but it is.
That's it really?
Yeah. Because that was I think that was the first year I came back. I was during my brief hiatus anyways, all that to be said is that I came back and Coastal kind of had our number, I believe, in years previous. So I found this old Coastal football poster when Liberty had played them. I think it said beat Coastal on it. Anyways, I took that inside our locker room and put it right inside the door. And I told the boys, I'm like, this week it's in our mind, we are going to beat them no matter what. We're going to walk on them all week. So, by the end of the week, that poster was confetti by just everybody's skate blades walking on it. But sure enough, we did stomp them that weekend. It was kind of weird, but I felt like that was the first psychological experiment I had done on the boys. But it came through. We hammered them so bad that they tried to wait for us in the parking lot and fight us.
That's right. Oh, yeah. Okay. All right.
Yes. But they'll get it done again this week. I full faith in D3. They'll take down the Purple Chickens.
Man, that's fun. Man, you've had a couple of those where teams just waited for y'all. And I'm
I know.
I'm just man, the life of D3 hockey is just it's nothing like anything else in
It
the
could be a
object.
show on Hulu. ESPN Plus should get with some D3 hockey school and just do a documentary on the life. Places that we would go to. We went to this one place in Virginia Beach that was an old roller rink converted into like a skating rink, but then they play hockey out there. The ceiling was only 8 to 10 feet.
Gosh.
Yeah, so if you try to dump the puck, you're just
Yeah,
hammering
yeah.
the ceiling. So it was
Would
just
they blow the
bizarre.
whistle?
Oh yeah.
Yeah?
And the puck's back in your zone. You had to do it. And then that place also didn't have showers.
Oh,
So guys are in their towels going just bathing in the sink after. It was the life was crazy. Yeah, it was. It's fun.
It's wild.
Yeah, I think it's changed a lot since
Yeah.
back then, I hope. But yeah, it's nuts.
Dang. I wonder how you make a formal petition for a show on ESPN. That would be a good one.
Yeah.
That would be a good one.
D3 for life.
Right?
That's what we used to tell the boys
dude,
back
you
in the
should petition and just make
right? I could produce it.
Yeah,
for them.
exactly.
Yeah.
And then even go
Fine team
when they
up,
do the flashbacks of stories,
Right.
you're just sitting there and
Yeah.
show. Yeah. Oh, it'd be great.
So good.
Yeah.
You could relive your glory days.
Oh
for
yeah.
that, you know?
Yeah. I don't know if they're going my glory days. There was last story. Braden Taylor was a good guy from Canada that was on the team, and he played limited minutes for us, but had a lot of talent and whatnot. And we were playing Tennessee, and we had a bad first or second period. And I was trying to figure out I'm pretty chill overall, but I was I feel I need to fire him up. So I'm gonna grab this water bottle and I'm gonna chuck it. That's what I'm gonna do. So I go in, I take a slurp, and then I try to throw this thing, and it came out of my hand late. And this poor kid, he's "'cause it gave him a haircut. And in my head, I'm oh my goodness, I almost got fired. That's what I'm thinking. But I'm it's also one of those things. How do I feel so bad that I almost took this kid's head off, but at the same
Did you
time,
keep going with the bit?
yeah, I had to.
You had to,
I
right?
can't go back. I keep
Right.
oh, sorry. Anyways, it was, luckily I didn't hit him, and it cleared him by, I don't know, maybe a foot. I remember his face. He was after the game, I was hey, I'm really sorry. I was not trying to aim for you. Anyways, yeah.
I feel that speaks volumes all the more. I feel you got your point across.
It did, yeah.
Oh,
Anyways.
gosh. Yeah.
This coach is nuts.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Right. He's willing to hurt us.
Yeah.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I don't even know how to transition.
Oh, yeah.
Let's
That's
talk
right.
about the women's
Let's do
D2
it.
Flames now. 2-1 at home. This team's still rolling, but hey, their first loss since October 11th.
Yeah,
I
that's
feel
crazy.
at this point it just fires you up.
Yeah.
You played a good series overall, a great 3 games. What is
Yeah.
3 games in total, right? Yeah. You give up 2 power play goals. Obviously, some things go wrong that you weren't anticipating, but I feel you need things to work on, especially, at this stretch of the season. It can be a big motivator.
Yeah, and I think for women's D2, they knew Lindenwood was, I'm still stuck on the other
That's all
D2.
right. No, you're good.
They knew Villanova was going to be a tough win, and you look at when they won their game. They won 2-0 because they scored on the power play, and then about a minute later, a breakdown happens, and Klein gets the puck, and she's able to bury top shelf. Like in this one, it was the same thing. Like you had 2 unfortunate penalties in the second period that they were just able to score really 2 greasy goals, like to kind of be the difference. And like obviously Hodson, she played great, obviously, and that was one thing also Villanova did too. They possessed the puck very well in that second game, way better than they did in that night one. So they made the proper adjustments needed, and I think Coach Leone and along with the rest of her staff with Turner and Forth will go back. That's a lot of tape that they'll go over and be like, hey, this is something that we need to change with when it comes to their breakout, even probably their power play a little bit too, right? Like I know they scored once, but like this is too deep of a team to probably only allow 1 power play goal in the weekend series. Like truthfully, this is a group that probably could score a power play goal every weekend. So big changes for them, and I think it's good, right? Like you don't want to skirt into the national championship tournament with not really having to deal with some adversity. And now you get your losing streak happened, you get your winning streak broken.
Yeah.
And now you can make the adjustments that you need to do.
I will give props to Mebs. I thought she played really well in game 1. She got the shutout and she earned it. Like she had some big saves in that game.
She did.
And in all honesty, I think like a couple bounces Villanova's way, I think they could have come out on top in game 1 too. So that's one of those things where, but looking at it, like again, I think you're talking about the depth of women's D2. They have some very capable young ladies that are close to being able to put the puck in the back of the net more regularly. So if that comes here in the next couple weeks, I think this team's flying. It's just a matter of maybe tighten up the D zone a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, the last time that this team even gave up a goal was November 22nd before this past weekend.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
That's funny.
I mean, considering there's only like 3 games in between, but still.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
still.
3 consecutive shutouts.
But I'm curious also how many goals they scored in that time period too, because they've been like,
lots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
they've dummied some teams since then.
Yeah, I mean, you knew it was going to be a tough series coming into it, and it delivered. There's some good hockey to watch for sure.
Yeah.
So now the Lady Flames are going to take on West Virginia this up-and-coming weekend. Senior night, which I know they've got a lot of great seniors on that team. I mean, all you ever hear about is the great leadership and energy from this team. And then after that, you only have one more series before your DVCHC playoffs in the national tournament. So there's a lot to be excited for the Lady Flames. We're looking forward to it for sure. We're getting closer and closer to the national tournament.
Oh yeah, can't wait.
Yeah, starting to get hyped up. Only a few weekends of hockey left before we're talking nationals, seeing who comes home with the cup.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's gonna be very exciting. A lot of chances for a lot of these teams.
Yeah.
Probably better than we've seen in a long time.
I know. I feel like we don't say this every year, but like this year, truthfully, at D1 level, it feels like it could be anybody's cup to win. Like I can name 5 teams off the top of my head that I'm like, yeah, they got a chance. They got a chance. They got a chance. And
right.
That's exciting. It's not like, oh, it's Adrian's or oh, it's Minot's.
Yeah.
It's like there's multiple teams that have a very valid chance of playing with this piece of hardware. So, and Liberty's right up the top of my list. So,
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Anyone's game. They're going to take on the national champs this up and coming weekend. Can't wait to see it. We'll be back next week to break it all down for you. But thanks for watching the Rock the Rink podcast. We'll see you next time.
I'm not coming here.